how can sharing the faith be done in a very gentle, loving way? I suppose you answered it by saying trusting in the Lord and knowing that we don't always see the fruits of our words in our friends and family.
And we don't always get it right either. Sometimes we can go in too heavy, and sometimes we can perhaps be too light. You know, I mean, this is why we practice our faith. You know, we live and learn, but I think the key is you just hit the nail on the head there when you said, you know, love. Really, that we give the gift of faith because we love them, not because we want to prove ourselves right. You know, and to show how wrong they are, but because we know that the gift of faith is the greatest gift that we have received, and so we want other people to share in that. And I think once we keep that right, and we've to keep ourselves in check as well, that we're prudent about it, you know, that we don't turn people off by our actions and we don't frighten them away. But at the same time, I think we do have to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, because I think for most of us, certainly myself, there's a temptation just to kind of stand back and hope that the Lord will do the rest, you know. That if we just say a prayer for them, maybe that might be enough. And certainly by all means, we need to pray for the conversion of souls, especially for people that it may be difficult to connect with. But at the same time, I think we do have an obligation to open our mouths as well and to say those words, but to do so with love. You know, I love that verse from St. Peter's first epistle, chapter 3, verse 15, where he says, "Always be ready to give an account for the hope that is within you with gentleness and love." So I think that's a powerful statement. Always be ready to give an account for the hope that is within you with gentleness and love, because hope is something that's lacking out there. People want hope, and I think people want to hear the good news. Yeah, they may not give the impression they do, and we might be afraid of it. But I think if you do make a little effort with gentleness and love, 9 times out of 10, people will react positively. You know, we're always afraid that people will laugh at us or mock us or whatever, and that may happen. But my experience is it's usually the opposite. People open up and they may not have an on-the-spot conversion because of anything you say, but I think gentle words of encouragement can go a long way. Conversion doesn't always happen in an instant. You know, not everyone has the St. Paul moments where where their whole life is turned around in an instant. That does happen to many people, but for most of the time, it's an ongoing thing, and it's step by step, and it's little things along the way, and little words and little things that people experience can break their hearts and bring them back. You know. Sometimes the Lord has to break our hearts to enter them, but sometimes little things are necessary, and I think words of encouragement and kindness go a long way, but ultimately truth, that we shouldn't be afraid to speak the truth with gentleness and love. And
as you mentioned there, it's the good news. And sometimes there's maybe a little too much vigour and force in sharing it. And it may not always be kind of shared as good news. And it ends up sounding kind of a bit like, you better convert, or...
It's a balance, because you need to have a bit of passion for your faith and a bit of zeal about it, and show that it's important, that it's serious, and that we treat it as such. And but at the same time, we have to respect people's freedom as well. That you can't force it onto somebody. People have to they have to. You have to make it attractive to people. And I think that's important as well, that we have to show the beauty of our faith in a way that will make people want it. Remember that truth and beauty are intrinsically connected. All the great philosophers can see this, that what is true is also beautiful, and likewise what is beautiful must also be true. Otherwise it won't be beautiful. And I think for very often we forget about that, the beauty of our faith, something that's, even just look at the history of our church, how there's always such an emphasis placed on art and music and even buildings. Everything was designed to be beautiful, to enhance the soul and to lift us up. I think that's the problem with our culture at the moment, is we've lost a sense of beauty. And I think it's a challenge for us as Catholics to go out and remind people that not only is our faith true, but it's also beautiful. And the lives of the saints are a great testimony to that. You just look at any of the saints and the beauty of their lives, the fulfillment that was there, And I think that's probably a good way for us to attract people to the faith, is remind them of the beauty of it, because I think sometimes we go at it, if we can just convince them of the truth of the faith, then they'll see the beauty, and that's the challenge for this, age of moral relativism where we live in. People will say, well, that might be true for you, but it's not true for me, and all of a sudden you kind of go, well, how can you have any sort of discussion if that's the foundation? If there's no such thing as truth, you're already on sinking sand. But nobody can deny beauty, even though people might try to deny that there's truth, which, by the way, is a contradiction. How can you say there's no such thing as truth? I mean, can that be true? So I think for the age of moral relativism where we're in, where people are skeptical of truth, and where people don't want to hear that there is such a thing as truth and something that's true for everyone, that truth is not just a matter of opinion, then I think we need to remind people of the beauty of our faith. And when then people are attracted to the faith, attracted to the beauty of what we believe, then they'll open their minds. So I think we have to attract people's hearts, and then their minds will follow. And sometimes I think we get that the other way around. We think if we can convince them of the truth first, then, and
when that beauty is in action, then I suppose that's the Holy Spirit living through us in peace, joy, love, patience, kindness.
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to the lives of the saints, as I mentioned, that if you look at the lives of the saints, and even if you think of people in your own life who have, a very sincere and devout faith, that there's something really attractive about that, and as I mentioned, that's what really won me back to the faith, was stumbling into the Legion of Mary, not knowing what it was, and just recognizing something in the people I met, even though I couldn't put my finger on it. But yet, I think there's something very, very attractive when the faith is lived well and when people see it.
Right.
Now, that's not to say, the old expression attributed to Saint Francis that preach the gospel and use words unnecessary. I think there's a danger sometimes if people take that too seriously, because
we can think we're off the hook and don't have to say anything.
There's a danger that we think our example will be enough, and I don't think so. I think words are also necessary. That we have to say what we believe. And we have to proclaim the truth. So there's an attraction, all right, when people see the faith being lived well, but they also need to hear the reasons why. They need people to give an account for the hope that's within them. That's our challenge. So to live the life in a way that people see that we truly believe what we believe, but also that we're prepared to help them and to show them.
If you liked what you just saw and would like to see the full interview, click on the Watch More box above, or else click on the link in the description box below. Make sure to also click on the subscribe button above so as to receive more regular content. Thank you.